Breaking news tonight. Oil and gas prices are rising sharply across global markets as escalating conflict in the Middle East raises fears of major disruptions to energy supplies. Markets reacted almost instantly as tensions increased, sending crude oil and natural gas prices climbing and triggering concern among governments, businesses, and consumers around the world. Energy traders say the surge reflects growing uncertainty about the stability of supply routes and production in one of the world's most important energy regions. The Middle East produces a significant share of the world's oil, and even small disruptions in the region can send shockwaves through the global economy. The latest price jump began as geopolitical tensions intensified, causing investors to worry that critical energy infrastructure or shipping routes could be affected. When conflicts occur near major oil-producing regions, markets tend to react quickly because the potential impact on supply can be enormous. Oil markets operate largely on expectations. Even the possibility of supply disruptions can cause prices to move rapidly as traders attempt to anticipate future shortages. In situations like this, markets are responding not only to current events, but also to what might happen in the days and weeks ahead. One of the biggest concerns for energy markets involves shipping routes that carry oil and gas exports from the Middle East to the rest of the world. Several of these routes are among the most important maritime trade corridors on the planet. Every day, millions of barrels of oil travel through narrow waterways and strategic sea lanes on their way to customers in Europe, Asia, and North America. If conflict threatens these routes, shipping companies may reroute vessels, increase security measures, or even delay shipments entirely. Any slowdown in energy shipments can create supply uncertainty, and markets typically respond with higher prices as traders factor in the potential risks. Energy infrastructure itself is also a major concern during periods of geopolitical instability. Oil fields, refineries, pipelines, and export terminals represent critical components of the global energy system. If any of these facilities were damaged or forced to shut down, production could fall dramatically. Even temporary disruptions to production can have significant effects on global supply. Because energy demand remains consistently high across the world, any reduction in supply tends to push prices upward quickly. The impact of rising oil prices often extends far beyond the energy sector itself. Oil is a fundamental component of the modern global economy. It powers transportation systems, fuels airplanes and ships, supports manufacturing industries, and helps move goods across continents. As a result, when oil prices rise, many other costs can increase as well. Transportation expenses often rise first, followed by higher costs for goods and services that depend on shipping and logistics. Consumers may eventually feel the impact in the form of higher gasoline prices at the pump. Gas stations typically adjust prices based on global oil markets, meaning drivers could soon see fuel costs increase if the current trend continues. For households and businesses alike, higher energy costs can have a ripple effect. Heating expenses, electricity generation, and transportation costs can all rise when oil and gas markets experience volatility. Natural gas prices are also responding to the growing tensions. Gas plays an increasingly important role in global energy systems, particularly for electricity generation and heating. Countries that rely heavily on imported natural gas are particularly sensitive to supply disruptions. In recent years, many nations have worked to diversify their energy sources and reduce reliance on any single supplier. However, global energy markets remain closely interconnected, and disruptions in one region can still affect prices worldwide. Governments around the world are now monitoring the situation closely. Energy security has become a top priority for policymakers as they assess how the conflict could influence global markets. Some governments are reviewing their strategic energy reserves to determine whether they might need to release additional supplies if prices continue to rise. Strategic petroleum reserves exist specifically for situations like this. Many countries maintain emergency stockpiles of oil that can be released during supply disruptions or extreme market volatility. These reserves are designed to stabilize markets and prevent sudden shortages. If geopolitical tensions continue to threaten energy routes or production facilities, governments may consider coordinated action actions to calm markets and reassure investors. Shipping companies are also adjusting their operations as tensions rise. Maritime security is a critical concern whenever conflicts occur near major trade routes. Oil tankers and cargo ships may increase protective measures or alter travel routes to avoid potential danger zones. Such adjustments can slow down global supply chains and increase transportation costs, which in turn can contribute to rising energy prices. Energy analysts say that markets are currently reacting to uncertainty rather than confirmed disruptions. However, uncertainty itself can be powerful enough to move markets significantly. Investors are carefully watching every new development related to the conflict. Military actions, political statements, and diplomatic negotiations can all influence market expectations. When markets perceive higher risks to energy supply, prices tend to increase as traders attempt to protect themselves from potential shortages. Financial markets beyond the energy sector are also paying close attention. Rising energy prices can affect inflation rates, economic growth forecasts, and global trade patterns. Higher fuel costs can increase transportation expenses for businesses and consumers, potentially slowing economic activity if the situation continues for an extended period. Economists warn that prolonged energy price increases could place additional pressure on global economies that are already facing multiple challenges. At the same time, energy producers may benefit from higher prices in the short term. Companies involved in oil and gas production often see increased revenues when prices rise. However, extreme volatility can also create uncertainty for producers who must plan long-term investments in exploration and infrastructure. The relationship between geopolitics and energy markets has always been deeply connected. Throughout modern history, conflicts involving major energy-producing regions have often led to significant price fluctuations. Energy markets are particularly sensitive to geopolitical developments because supply chains stretch across continents and depend on stable transportation routes. When political tensions disrupt these systems, the effects can spread quickly across global markets. For consumers, the key question is how long the price increases might last. If tensions ease and supply routes remain stable, markets may eventually settle and prices could stabilize. However, if the conflict continues to escalate or begins to affect major energy infrastructure, price volatility could continue. Energy experts say that much will depend on diplomatic efforts in the coming days and weeks. Negotiations aimed at reducing tensions could help calm markets and restore confidence among investors. At the same time, energy companies and governments are continuing to monitor developments closely and prepare for different scenarios. The global energy system is highly complex and relies on cooperation among producers, transporters, and consumers across multiple continents. Events in one region can quickly influence markets around the world, demonstrating just how interconnected the global economy has become. For now, energy traders, policymakers, and consumers are all watching the situation carefully as events continue to unfold. Oil and gas prices remain sensitive to every new development, and markets could shift rapidly depending on how the conflict evolves. The coming days will be critical in determining whether tensions begin to ease or whether further escalation could place even greater pressure on global energy supplies. Until then, markets remain volatile, governments remain cautious, and millions of people around the world are closely following the developments. Because when geopolitical tensions rise in one of the world's most important energy regions, the effects can reach nearly every corner of the global economy.